My name is Michaela Cantley, and I'm going to be talking about New Zealand's emergency management systems. New Zealand, unlike other nations, has found a way to create a world renowned disaster management plan for its citizens and government. History. Disaster management was first recognized in New Zealand during World War II when a threat of war surfaced throughout the country. It was not until the 1931 earthquake when emergency management plans were starting to be developed. The government recognized that a system needed to be put in place, so they created the 1962 Civil Defence Act. New Zealand received some of their most severe weather conditions it had thus far experienced in 1968. But it was not until the 1980s where the majority of changes took place. With the population of citizens increasing, the government realized that the primary focus of the disaster management team needed to be to educate the regular citizens. This led to the creating of the Civil Defence Act of Emergency Management. With New Zealand on an economic and social rise, the government quickly realized it needed an intricate plan to distribute throughout all businesses, which included strict instructions and responsibilities to conduct if a disaster ever approached. With a couple of years gone by, New Zealand replaced the Civil Defence Act with the Civil Defence Emergency Management Ministry, which is now in charge of the entire country's emergency management roles and functions. It is a unit under the Department of the Prime Minister and Cabinet, but provides the leadership throughout the entire country if any emergency situation were to arise. When analyzing New Zealand's implementation pattern and structure, it is very unique from other countries. Their primary focus is to engage all participation, rather than creating a top-down or bottom-up pattern. This implementation pattern includes all the participation from citizens so that everyone always knows what's going on. This established the Emergency Act of 2002, whose primary focus is to develop levels of communication through citizens, local, state, and national government. This act is the foundation to create and ensure a specific system in place when danger arises. As an emergency management system, the Civil Defense Ministry focuses on building resilience through the 4 R's, which are risk reduction, readiness, response, and recovery. Unlike other nations, New Zealand is prone to various types of hazards. The country is located on 2 volcanic rocks where tectonic plates meet. This creates the risk for earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, and also snowfalls, droughts, landslides, severe winds, and since they're completely surrounded by water, there's many coastal hazards. Due to a high correlation between New Zealand's economy and their vulnerability to natural disasters, there are 4 main variables that are continuously monitored to ensure proper policies are in place. These 4 variables are climate change, human modification of the national environment, demographic trends, and reliance on technology throughout the country. It took many disasters for them to perfect their system to come as far as they have today. Since 1840, there have been 13 locally sourced tsunamis in the region. New Zealand has done a great job in learning from their past mistakes in disastrous situations and perfecting policies to ensure a safe community. There are 16 different civil defense groups that monitor each area and continually assess risks on their region in order to see if changes needed to be put forth to counter risk. These groups are under the Civil Defense Ministry. Throughout the system, each agency is able to set their own policies, which as well gets approved by this ministry to ensure that the plans support the Emergency Management Act of 2002. Since it is recognized all around the world, it meets with many different countries. In 2002, Japan and New Zealand met at a conference to share lessons between each other to make each country more resilient and safer. Their aim was not to only create a level of collaboration between the governments, but to influence each country's universities, research institutes, and other agencies. Being aware of their exceptional method, New Zealand also holds workshops throughout the world to help with disaster risk management. One of the upcoming workshops will be in Barbados to help the Caribbean islands with emergency management. Future and challenges. Although New Zealand has a well-developed system and structure put in place, there are still many challenges that need to be accounted for. New Zealand's biggest obstacle is not only create policies, but make sure every citizen and business are implementing these plans and practicing them in their daily life. Now the problem arises of how to actually have businesses and citizens implement them and adapt them on a daily basis. Same goes for the public education system. It will be a constant challenge to make sure the entire public is not only aware of the policies in place, but to know how to implement them in disaster situation arises. All in all, at such an early stage, it is hard to analyze if this approach is the right one, but New Zealand has done an outstanding job of fulfilling every aspect in its objectives to create a more aware and prepared nation. And here are my references that I used to create this PowerPoint. Thank you.